Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, guys, now I've mentioned there's this huge agenda, and that agenda doesn't just stop with the shayateen in ins, but also with jinn. When I say jinn, for the non Muslim viewers, is demons, or at least conventionally what you would call demons, we call them jinn in Islam. It seems that these shayateen, in ins and jinn, are colluding together in order to bring about this false extraterrestrial contact. And these experiences are being had by people, average Joe blogs, who are sat at home. And it's all part of this psyop in order to bring about this fitna of the Antichrist, Dajjal, Lanatullahi alayh. And like I said, for him to be revealed to the world on an international stage as an extraterrestrial being. I just want our beloved ulama ikram to listen to this conversation, subhanAllah. Everything about it speaks out volumes that these are shayateen in jinn who are basically doing this, entering their bodies and possessing them and communicating to them, subhanAllah.
I was in Silver Lake, I was in Marina Del Rey, California.
The question you need to ask is, why are they doing this, right? Why are the shayateen in jinn doing this? And the answer would be inevitable, and it's at the conclusion of my PDF, the science PDF. Please revert back to it if you need to, and have a perusal of the whole document from the top all the way down. It also can be found under the About Us link on the channel, Al-Uz channel on YouTube. It's on the About Us, the link for it.
And we had this friend down in Sao Paulo. And we started noticing over the Skype line, these weird mechanical sounds would come in. And I'd say, what's that? And the gal down in Sao Paulo would say, oh, that's the ETs. And I'm like, no way. And she said, oh, yeah, they're talking to us. And I have come to find out, by the way, that they do use technology as a conduit. I've done another talk on that with another interviewer about how the interface of technology allows these beings to come through even more. And so what would happen is I would go into this light trance. I'd be sitting in my office chair listening on Skype, and I would start to trance out a little bit. And so we'd Skyped a few times. They came over a few times. Each time we'd kind of trance out. And my friend down in Sao Paulo, Lily, would say, oh, yeah, they're back. And she would start actually talking for them. Now, again, I was very skeptical about this, but I was open-minded. I've always been very open-minded. And so one night, the three-way Skype we had an introductory offer for three-way Skype, and that had expired. One of us didn't want to pay for doing a three-way call anymore. So anyway, long story short, my girlfriend in Silver Lake was talking to the one in Sao Paulo, and she rings me up on the phone and says, you got to get on the phone right away. Our friends are here. And I can hear in the background over her Skype line, these friends are here, right? The sounds are coming over the Skype line. Next thing I know, she says that something is crawling up her back, like a massage roller is going up and down her spine. But there's no one in the house with her. Her pets are across the room. And I'm, again, very skeptical, and I'm thinking, I don't know if I believe these two. Maybe this is going too far. So I'm laying on my bed with the earpiece from my phone in the ear, listening to these two over here on Skype. And the next thing I know, she stops and says, oh my gosh, that feeling just stopped. And at that point, the feeling was in my chest. And it felt like two little baby hands were squeezing my heart. And I flipped out. In fact, I was speechless, and I just went, took a deep breath. And at that point, the gal in Sao Paulo goes into one of these monotone voices as she's translating for them. And she says, it's okay, Lynn, just relax. They're working on you now. They're going to open up your chakras. And I was like, I know, I can feel them in my body. What are they doing? And they moved down to my ovaries, and they kind of squeezed those, and then they moved up to my throat, and I could feel squeezing in my...
You guys will remember, even as it's postulated in the document, and I've done numerous vlogs on this, that the religion of Dajjal, the Antichrist, Lanatullahi alayh, will be the religion of the pineal gland, which is the third eye, and drawing in Buddhism, Hinduism, and many spiritual aspects, the New Age spiritual kind of religions, and Kabbalism, which is again the Kabbalistic tree of life in Judaism, and and again in Freemasonry you've got the 33 degrees of the vertebrae and then the pineal gland, and this seems to be the religion that the Dajjal will impart on the Ummah as the religion, the evolved religion for humanity. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect and guide us from this.
Throat. It didn't hurt. I was wide awake. And then the next thing I know, I felt them go up to my forehead. And at that point, I passed out for an hour. So I never saw them in my room. I never even heard them. I just felt them in my body. So I passed out for an hour because I had the clock right by my bedside as I'm lying on the bed.
Now, that's clearly obvious that that would be Napak Jinn. I mean, it's very clear that these are demonic entities entering a body.
I wake up an hour later and I feel like I've been drugged, like I'm just coming out of anesthesia. And I'm like,
multidimensional, third dimensional. They don't come from another place in the solar system, but rather they exist in a parallel dimension to us. And they're tearing that veil as well. There's a lot of stuff happening, and to be honest, I don't think it's quite difficult as it is for our beloved ulama ikram to kind of digest what's compressed within the science PDF, and then everything that augments it on the channel. If I went into how they're tearing the veil, or how they're going about tearing the veil, that would really require another document itself, and then maybe perhaps vlogs that would augment that and support that. So it's a very long discussion, but this again is sufficient for us to consider what sort of scheming is taking place at the moment. And this again, I think, is what's been referred to in the Surah Tariq or Surah Najm at the end of it, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to them scheming and planning, and to allow them some grace for a while. This is whilst the nucleus of that surah seems to be this star, which, as I understand, has arrived and is sharing a barycenter with our sun, and is going to be the means through which we're going to see a lot of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ concerning Akhir Zaman, at least the signs preceding Ad-Dajjal and Imam al-Mahdi, or during the time of Imam al-Mahdi, transpire as the system being an asbab of those hadiths coming into fruition, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
I've got the earpiece still in my ear for the phone, and I said to my friends, are you there? Are you there? I don't know what happened. I passed out. Well, they all went out as well. And so my girlfriend in Silver Lake, she's all groggy too, and she's like, what just happened? I fell asleep. I don't know what happened. So all three of us were knocked out. The gal down in Sao Paulo is still speaking in that mechanical voice, and she says, it's okay, Lynn. When they work on your pineal and pituitary gland, they have to knock you out. And I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. And I felt so drugged, so I said, look, I got to hang up the phone and go to sleep. I can't keep my eyes open. I don't know what these things did to me, but I'll figure it out tomorrow. I got to go to sleep. Hung up the phone, passed out. An hour later, I hear those mechanical sounds that have been coming over the Skype line. They're now in my bedroom, in the room, like coming out of nowhere, right? And I wake up, sit straight up in bed, and like, holy crap. And the only aliens I could remember ever really seeing, because I didn't watch a lot of sci-fi, were the little gray aliens. So I'm figuring I got little gray aliens in my room. Turns out they were not the grays. They're higher level dimensional beings, and I actually think they're my homies. They're where I was before I volunteered here. So they're good. They're good guys. And it was time to wake me up. It was time to have me get on my mission. What did I come here to do? And so anyway, I'm hearing the sounds in my room, and I look over in my office to see if it's coming out of my computer. My computer's sound asleep. So all of a sudden, I start getting pulled off the bed, like something is pulling.
And there's a growing number of these individuals who actually believe that there's star seeds, and what that means is basically they've been sent into onto Earth from another dimension, and have got biological parents here, but they're like the example of that I gave you of Lisa, who believes that she's a star child as well, who have come to Earth in order to coerce man into this new epoch, this new utopia, as it were, and that's obviously the era of Dajjal, the Antichrist. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. And these individuals are entirely invested in this, and they're very sensible individuals. These are intellectuals we're referring to, and sadly it goes amiss. We're not even aware of these things that are happening globally at the moment right now with such intensity. And these are brothers and sisters in humanity, even if they aren't in faith. Subhanallah, our beloved Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam cried for a Jewish individual who had died. These are individuals who have no idea of who God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, right? And they're being totally sidestepped and divorced from the reality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by virtue of this agenda. And it's a huge demographic. We're not referring, if we just take off half of the population of America, just America itself, right? And let's forget what the kind of surveys they've done globally, just America, and maybe use that as a litmus test. That's half of the world's population, if you apply the same, right? Who believe in the existence of extraterrestrial life. Now imagine if that was to be followed by an actual false contact using holographic military technology as well as these shayateen in jinn, in order to bring about, and hybrid beings, in order to bring about a false stage extraterrestrial contact during a time when there is untold suffering on the ummah, so they're much more impressionable, right? During, let's say, for example, a nuclear holocaust and an economic meltdown, right, where people are dying of disease, of suffering, of hunger globally, and they're looking for a solution. And then all of a sudden, you've got these false extraterrestrial beings who make contact and who pose themselves as our saviors, who have come to save humanity and who have been watching humanity, guiding humanity and coercing humanity. Well, these will be the false claims that they'll be making, and who have actually created humanity and cloned them in as much as we clone sheep, animals, all sorts of, I guess, bodily parts and stuff that happen behind the scenes in black ops. These sort of things, and they'll claim that this is the very same way we created you from the Homo erectus, and this is a claim that we postulated in the science PDF for our beloved ulama ikram to consider.
Me off the bed over to sliding glass doors. I had a balcony off my bedroom overlooking the pool area. I lived in a multi-story townhouse overlooking a pool, and I'm being called to open up the drapes, open up the sliders, and go out on the balcony, and I am scared to death. Absolutely scared to death. So I walk over to the, well, they carry me sort of. I'm sort of floating. I can't explain it. It's like I'm walking, but they're pulling me at the same time. I get over to the drapes, and I'm too chicken. I'm absolutely flipped out. I'm crying by now, scared out of my wits, don't know what I'm about to see, and I run back over to the bed, and they pulled me even harder, and the sounds in the room got louder, these mechanical sounds. And I pulled off the bed again, and I'm over to the sliding glass doors, and I know I have to do it, so I just muster my courage. I pull back the drapes, open up the sliders. There's nothing there. So now I'm curious, like, okay, where are they? Where's the ship? Where are the little gray aliens? I go out on my balcony. The entire area, it sounds like it's coming out of the sky, are these mechanical sounds. And all of my neighbors are asleep. It's now midnight. Nobody has their lights on. It's deafening how loud it is. So I think I'm crazy. I'm like, am I having a schizoid break? What the heck is going on? So I run into the house and I call my friend in Silver Lake, and I wake her up and I say, just tell me you can hear this. Tell me I'm not crazy. And so I bring the phone out onto the balcony, and she's all excited. She's like, oh my God. She said, they're there. She said, can you see a ship? Can you see the aliens? I said, no, I can't see anything. That's the trippy part. Well, I started to get that wave of sleepiness come back over me again. So I said, I don't know what's happening, but I got to go back to bed. I ended up sleeping till the morning. When I woke up, those sounds were still in the air. Okay? They went on until 4 o'clock that afternoon. I had neighbors down at the pool that were sunning themselves, and I'm like leaning over the balcony because they were all my friends. I knew all my neighbors, and I'm like, hey guys, can you hear all those sounds going on in the air? And they're like, what are you talking about? Hey, Lynn, come on down and have a beer with us at the pool. So I go back inside. I call my friend, and I said, I think we're crazy. I can't, my neighbors can't hear a thing, and I'm hearing them clear as day. So we Skyped with my friend in Sao Paulo that night to try to figure it out. And what she said is, she said, well, of course they can't hear them, Lynn. All of your gifts are open now. You can hear them because you can hear into other realms. That's what they did. They woke you up. It's time for you to get on your mission. And I started crying again, just bawling in tears. And I said, why did you do this to me? I don't want this. And she started laughing. She said, I didn't do this to you, Lynn. You did this to you. This is your higher self. It's time for you to wake up. You just got some help. It's time for you to get on your mission. Well, from that day forward, my life changed. I could hear into the other realms. I could see. I had reptilians in my house. I had black helicopters over my house. I was meeting strange people.
There's an interesting thing I'd like to add here. I mean, they've just shown an image of a lizard being. It's interesting that we understand that Iblis Lanatullahi took the form of some sort of a snake, right? When he had maybe induced Mahawa to seduce Adam alayhi salam into approaching this tree, and he had it was some sort of a flying snake stroke lizard, right? And it's interesting that these lizard beings seem to be quite synonymous with this particular agenda, and you see all these celebrities as well with these sort of snake eyes, right? Being seen captured with these sort of snake eyes and stuff. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best what's in this, but there's also a hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions that there was a people of Bani Israel who were turned into lizards, hence why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not like to eat lizard meat when it was offered to him. And this is again something for our beloved Ulama Ikram to consider, whether this somewhere somehow ties into whatever. But we do understand that shayateen can shapeshift into all sorts and all sorts of animals, as well as dogs and snakes. So again, there's leverage there as well, why they seem to be so um, 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 profoundly present in all of these experiences that people are having, these sort of lizard beings.
Talking to me about coming to Mars. I was being invited into groups like Carrie Cassidy at Project Camelot. I mean, it was bizarre, and it was just happening rapid fire, rapid fire, rapid fire.
I gotta jump in real quick. You said that you saw reptilians in your house. What is that like?
Well, it was scary the first time it happened, and I didn't see them all the way bled through. They were semi-bled through. So what I saw was, first of all, my animals picked them up. I had 2 cats, and the cats would see them and go cower under the furniture. So I knew I had something in the house. And then I know this sounds bizarre, but I was having so many strange things happening. I was having so much energy in my house, so many different types of beings. I couldn't see them all clearly, but I could feel them. My clairsentience was through the roof. So I kind of made a deal with the good guys. Again, I really believe that it was the good guys that woke me up. I still don't know for sure who they are. I get ships over my house to this day, little plasma ships. They pop, all the lights go off when I pop out there in my yard. They're waving at me. They're coming over my house. They're beaming lights at me. In fact, James Gilliland up at East Eddy Ranch has video of these little, I call them little plasma ships. And again, I think those are the higher dimensional good guys.
They're not plasma ships. There's light balls, and they're generally like come in a spherical shape. And these are jinn. It's absolutely clear. And there's so much evidence that I have come across where they basically actually abduct and carry away physical objects and disappear with them, and they go back up again. In fact, the very same, I'm pretty sure you've seen this anomaly on the third Haramain, Al-Aqsa, near the Dome of the Rock, where a light orb was hovering just above the dome and then just shot off into the sky, and there was about 5, 6, 7 different individuals who actually captured it from different angles, which added credence to this being a very real phenomena. Yet it was very clear that those were jinn, okay, appearing as these orbs of light.
Somehow, and I think this is partly the reason we have so much technology on the planet now, is it becomes a conduit, a highway, if you will, for these beings to be able to come into our domain with different sounds.
We, the Ulama Ikram, need to be asking, why are the jinn invested in this particular agenda, unless it does tie into what I believe to be the case between the Shayateen in Ins and Jinn, which is a Masonic fraternity, as well as the, I guess, the so-called Illuminati and the Zionist occult groups. Okay, it seems like they're all invested in this. It's part of a whole structure with the Shayateen in Jinn as well, who are all working together to bring about this particular agenda, which is to obviously bring to the world their dark prince, which is the Dajjal La'natullahi alayhi. And this hoax.
And again, it would take me a while. I wasn't prepared prior to the interview. I didn't know we'd be talking about all of this. But I have recordings of reptilians. I have recordings of mantis beings that have come over the sky blind with my clients. And then I'm about to play you a few seconds of very similar sounds to what I heard that night. Okay, and I talked to a guy up in Canada who is an ancient language expert and an extraterrestrial language expert. Tobias, I'm trying to think of his last name. But anyway, he said that my guys were so high level that they sometimes will either use technology or they may even use the Greys, which are kind of like automatrons. I mean, they're not real soul beings. So just like the reptilians can use the Greys for things, that these higher level beings can come through the Greys, kind of take them over and come through. So I don't know how this, I don't know that this language is directly from the higher level beings. Does that make sense? They may be using some sort of filter, so when it comes through Skype, it sounds like this. Not sure. But I also heard it in my bedroom. This is exactly what I heard. So I'll play a few seconds of it, okay?
Great.
Anyway, that is, another story with this is I have another recording with a slightly different frequency. Now, here, all joking aside, I was Skyping one night with
sounds eerily like a sonar from a submarine, that kind of thing that we're typically used to hearing.
The Crystal Child. She's the daughter of a dear friend of mine, and we're Skyping and catching up with each other, and they came over again. This time, though, they were much more intense and frantic sounding, and it turns out she did understand that. I mean, this is a kid. She had experiences of bilocation. She can move energy. She's a really profound child, and so she's listening to them, and she said, "Lynn, I can understand that." So we have actually 29 minutes on that one where she actually dissected what they were saying over the. She was typing on Facebook chat and giving me messages of what they were saying as they were talking to her. Pretty trippy, huh?
That is trippy.
You want to hear a little? You want to hear a little bit of that?
Oh yeah, please, as much as you're.
Guys, this is happening on a spiritual realm. It's happening, as in when I say spiritual realm, I'm referring to the shayateen in jinn, the educational realm, the popular culture, the media realm, the political realm. It's basically there's a huge. You can, subhanallah, it's you can see a huge pattern emerging, and the pieces of the puzzle coming together, and you can see where the breadcrumbs, the trail of breadcrumbs are leading, and it's very, very, very unnerving.
You're one to share with us, absolutely.
Okay, now this one you're going to hear her typing probably in the background. So when you hear that tap, 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 that's her typing on the keyboard, trying to keep up with what they're saying.
So there you go. People are having these experiences and thinking that they're communicating with the higher self and these higher spirits. I would really